So I'm here with my buddy Brian, and this is his Slingshot, and we are installing this Madstad adjustable windshield system. So we have the hood opened and we removed 3 bolts. There's one right here, and then one right here, and one on the opposite side. And after you remove these 3 bolts, the whole windshield should come right off, just like that. Alright, so once you've got your windshield removed, you want to remove the 2 plastic panels right here. It pops right off.
There's 3 pops, one here, here, and here. Make sure you grab it on the edge, you don't want to damage your panel. Just goes right off. And the other way.
Comes right off like that.
So the reason you remove this is because the new windshield is actually going to be using those bolt holes to put your panel right there. And so using this new screws and the new washers, you're going to be inserting them in there afterwards.
So this is how the Madstad is a bit different from the F4. Is it F4?
Yeah.
Yeah. You get another windshield and it goes right here using these 2 holes as anchor.
But as you can see, it's pretty dirty, so we're going to grab a cloth and clean it up while we have it all apart now, because you're never going to get those cracks. Okay.
Okay, so you got your windshield removed, you removed the red panels on the dashboard, and like Brian said, you probably want to clean all these cracks and crevices here first, just because you're probably not going to get a chance to clean it after. So now, with this all cleaned up, you want to install your rubber grommets. So after you're done cleaning your dashboard, now you're ready to install some rubber grommets. These, or what's it called again? Well nuts?
Well nuts.
And these are used to anchor down your windshield. That is in your red bag, right?
Yep.
So go to your red bag, grab the well nuts, and you want to plug it in like what Brian's doing right here. And 2 more on this side.
Now we're going to remove the center console piece.
Okay. So after you've installed your rubber grommets or well nuts right here, you want to take apart your dashboard.
Yep.
And you do that by removing these 4 bolts right here with a 2.5mm Allen wrench. So all the 4 bolts are removed now, and you're ready to take apart your dashboard.
So it says be careful because sometimes the buttons have become unglued and then they fall out. But we got lucky.
If you have a relatively new slingshot like Brian, it will come right off and your buttons won't fall off. But be careful. Are you talking about those buttons right there?
Yeah,
that might
these
fall
buttons,
off.
yeah.
If it falls off, you can just glue it back on, I'm guessing. But try not to make it fall off. Okay, there you go. So you want to, what did you do, Brian?
I just put a screwdriver just lightly underneath to pry it out a bit, but you just want to be very careful because you don't want to scratch, like Jasper mentioned, you don't want to scratch your aluminum panel, but there it's out, and you can see this part just comes across here, but we'll just rest that there. This is just so we can get access to this area.
Yeah, so just like Brian said, this is what it looks like after you remove it. What you really want to do is remove this outer bracket here, and the whole piece falls off. And you do that by just gently prying here. You can use a metal screwdriver like Brian did, but you can also get those plastic prying bars from your hardware store. That will work too. Just be gentle. This piece is aluminum and it's not covered by anything, so if you make a dent in it or scratch it, you'll definitely see it. So once it's removed, this is what it looks like. You see it's two pieces.
Okay, so next you just want to remove your rear view mirror. If you don't have a rear view mirror, you just want to remove, there's going to be two plastic tabs that just pull out where the screw holes are. So we're just going to remove those now.
Okay, so you have your dashboard removed and you've cleaned it, and now you want to remove this mirror.
So we removed one of the bolts here, working on the second bolt. One of the reasons we removed the dashboard is the mounting bracket. It's just going to spin and you're never going to get that bolt off, so you just have to go underneath and grab it. And the screw's pretty tight because there is a bolt on the bottom, so just go all the way through, and once it comes off, it'll just pop right out.
Okay, so you've got your rear view mirror removed, and underneath the rear view mirror inside that console you will find this piece of bracket. That is what's anchoring down the mirror. And with your Madstad windshield, you want to replace this piece with the one that Brian is holding in his hand. A much beefier, nicer piece. And
So it's going to go underneath here. We're going to put the center mounting bracket on top, and then using your M6 nuts and lock washers, we're going to bolt it into place in a second.
So if you're confused how this bracket goes inside the console, you can use the top here as a reference. The way it's shaped goes in right like this, just like this, and it should line up, and then that's when you mount your bracket on top. So with your Madstad kit, it comes with brand new bolts. You don't have to reuse your old ones, and a few lock washers. And Brian's going to demonstrate later how to do that. Okay, so Brian's got the brackets that you need.
So you use your brand new screws and lock washer. Lock washer goes under the screw head and in the top of the piece. I'm going to be holding this underneath like that. Screwing one of them in and then screwing the other one in once I start to get a thread on each. So this part's the tricky part. You're just going to have to feel around to get a good fit to find the hole, but once you do, get a couple threads. Be very careful that you don't cross thread here. And once you have the one in, you're just going to have to line up the other. And once you have your couple threads in, we're just going to bolt it down using our screwdriver.
So like what Brian did, you want to probably screw in both bolts first, gently and loosely. And then once both bolts are threaded into your bracket, then you can start screwing it in. Be gentle because you're working with plastic, so you don't want to crack anything. And just use a little common sense. So after you're done installing your middle bracket, you can install your windshield, your mini windshield. They are left-right oriented. Make sure they only go on, what that means is it basically only goes on left side. The left one goes on the left side, right one goes on the right side. You can't mix them up. You want to pop, you pop those two weld nuts in there earlier. There's one here already from your original car, your original Slingshot. And for the middle one,
You leave it empty.
you leave it empty, and then what do you do, Ryan?
You slide the tab in, and then you're going to take your walnut and line it up. You want to do this before you screw these in, because you're going to have to kind of wiggle it around to get a good seat. Then you take your M6x25 with your plastic washer, put that on, and we're going to partially thread this one in first, just so that it doesn't come loose while we're working on the rest of it.
Just like Brian said, you probably want to put in all the bolts first before you tighten any one of them.
Okay, so it's just loosely in there, and then we're going to move on to the rest.
That just makes the whole job easier.
So remember when you're screwing these ones in, that you remember to throw the plastic washer on top. With the acrylic plastic, it's the only thing that's going to protect this from getting damaged when you start to tighten this down.
And these are all from your red bag?
All from the red bag.
Okay. So make sure you're using plastic washers, not metal washers or lock washers.
And when you screw this down, the windshield is going to flex a bit, and it's so that it gets a tight seal against your slingshot. Don't be alarmed that it's not fitting exactly right when you put it down the first time, and it's made by that by design.
And that's why it's important to put in all your bolts first before you tighten anything down. Gives you more flex so you won't end up bending the windshield too much or cracking it. But 4 bolts and that's it. Really simple. So, Brian,
So now I'm just going to start tightening these down for the final time, and then we're going to do the same thing to the other side.
And how tight do you want it?
Again, you want these finger tight. They're going into a rubber grommet. It gives a little bit of pressure against the bottom, so they should not come loose. And you have plastic underneath, so if you go too tight, you're not going to get a good seal with the plastic.
So like Brian, he's using a screwdriver here instead of a ratchet. That's probably a better idea. Just because acrylic easily cracks if you use too much torque on it. So using a screwdriver will limit your amount of torque that you can put down on it. And you
There
see,
it is in solid.
pretty snug. You could add Loctite if you want, if you're worried that it might come off sometime, but given that it's rubber wellness, you should be fine.
So we just finished installing the mini windshields, and we're installing the mounting brackets now for the mini windshields to get the full windshield on. These ones matter which one you put on the left and right. So you want the knob on the outside, but more importantly, you want the mounting holes on the inside of the windshield. If you install it backwards, your mounting holes are going to be over here, and it's the wrong position. So first you throw your screw in through both pieces of plastic. Plastic washer goes on the inside for both of them, and then you throw on your bolt. Just thread it on a couple finger tights because you don't want to lose that plastic washer in some nook or cranny. And then once you have both of those on, we're going to actually use a 10mm wrench or an adjustable wrench to hold the bolt in place while you screw it on with your 4mm Allen key. And the reason we have to use a wrench versus a ratchet is the ratchet actually won't fit on the bottom bolt. There's not enough clearance down there to get this. And so just want to stress again that this is plastic on plastic. So we're going to make it snug and slightly tightened so that there's no vibrations, but if you over tighten this, you will break your windshield.
And where do you find these bolts?
The bolts, I believe they were in the green bag. It says on the instructions which each of the bolts, but pretty sure it was the green bag. So we finished mounting our brackets. We got the center bracket mounted, brackets on our mini windshields mounted. Now we're moving on to mounting the full windshield. So for doing this, what you want to do is you want to grab your bag with the 6 screws, 6 plastic washers, and 6 rubber washers. And the order this goes on is screw, plastic washer, windshield, rubber washer. So I'm just going to demonstrate what you're going to do is you're actually going to want to prep these ahead of time. So you're going to throw the screw in with the rubber washer on the inside. And we're just going to throw all of these on before we go to mount. It just makes the next process of lining it up and screwing it in so much easier. It's actually pretty snug on the bottom. The rubber washer keeps the screw on so that you don't have to worry about losing a screw or a washer down into your slingshot when you're mounting this.
Okay, so now your windshield is all done, 6 bolts installed, and Brian is going to do what next?
Okay, so we're throwing the center console back on. We just left it to last because the instructions actually don't tell you when you should put it back on. The only important part is that you get your center mounted bracket installed, and then you can put it back on. It doesn't really matter when. So just to remember that we had these different clips. Top clips go down, bottom clips go up, but should just slide back into place. Clicking in. Here, the top and the bottom click. Your centerpiece is a little bit loose, but that is held in place with your mounting bracket here. So we're gonna line that up, and then using those long screws from before, we're just gonna finger tight thread them in before we use our 2.5mm Allen key to get at the rest of
And these are the original screws, right?
Yeah, these are the original screws that you use to take out. So for the Slingshot's new windshield, all the mounting brackets, all the screws are brand new from the vendor. And so Madstad actually supplies all new screws, and it's actually really nice so that you got the right length and everything and the right quality that was there. Whereas some of the other windshields that you install, you actually just maybe replace a rubber grommet and use your original mounting hardware. Not that the original mounting hardware is bad, but just feels nice when you know when you buy something and all the pieces you need are already there to be used.
So we actually ended up with 2 spare, we call this grommets, rubber grommets?
Rubber grommets? Yeah, so as you can see up here when we were mounting up here, the outer one here already has a rubber grommet in it for the install. This was there with the original windshield. Maybe some Slingshots, if you didn't have a windshield, that would be when you would need those rubber grommets. So if you bought the Slingshot without a windshield, it would have just been a black cap that went in there and plugged in the hole, and then in that case you'd be using those rubber grommets. Since we already had the Slingshot's windshield installed, we didn't need those rubber grommets, they're just extra. So now, once this is mounted back in, we'll pop the 2 plastic pieces back on top, and we'll be all done.
And the mirrors.
Yeah, the mirror's kind of personal preference. If you buy the windshield, you're going to get a mirror. Really, the mirror is slightly useless. You only really see semi-trucks behind you, so it's more for looks than anything else. Okay, so center console is in, tightened it down just, fingers not tight, because again, those rubber grommets in there are going to hold it pretty good. So first thing you might notice is that you can't really fit that back in. And why did the instructions not tell you to do it ahead of time? I mean, you could do it ahead of time, but if you adjust your windshield all the way up, you can actually just slide it in from the front. We're just going to line it up, make sure they're in, and snap it in place. Again, you got your 3 points, so make sure that you got a snap there, there, and in the front, and you're good to go. The other one.
So you want to do it like Brian?
2, 3.
Just slide it in from the front after you move your windshield all the way up. Otherwise, you won't be able to put it back in. And here it is, all done.
Okay.
What's next?
Now we are going to install our rear view mirror. So we're just going to unscrew the original hardware from the one that came with and throw it on the mounting sides here. You actually got 2 screws in here that you can use for other accessories such as mounting maybe a phone holder or whatnot. So we're going to use the top one to mount the rear view mirror, because the higher up it is, the better it is to be able to see backwards, and leave the other 2 empty. Okay, so to remove the mirror, it slides onto this bracket like that and is held in place by a screw. So you take your screw out just using a regular Phillips. You're gonna have it quite snug, so you slide it up, comes off, and then using an Allen key actually goes into your secondary screw underneath, and that is what removes the metal bracket. Okay, so if you guys wanted to mount your rear view mirror, you're gonna need to go buy a 6mm bolt. After taking everything apart, it actually does not screw in to your center mounting piece. You're missing the rear bolt to hold that on. And so these are all 6mm holes for your mounting accessories. And so you're gonna have to go to the hardware store and buy one of those to put it on. It's a little disappointing that it didn't come with the parts supplied by Madstad, but again, I guess they don't know all the pieces that you originally had installed. And yeah, so you won't need the original mounting bracket anymore, and we're all done. Okay, so we just installed the new Madstad adjustable windshield. The one we installed is the 9-inch bronze adjustable single windshield. So the double windshield actually has 2 windshields that kind of end right here to more mounting brackets. And the 9-inch refers to the height above the slingshot. Jasper will just demonstrate with me, show the difference between this and the original. And so, fully down, these tabs are a bit lower down, but fully down the windshield actually goes just basically the same height, if not a little bit lower than the original windshield. But what we do have is 2 adjustable ways to change this. So you loosen the bolts on the side with the knobs, and we can actually slide the windshield up 2 inches. The other way we can also adjust it is in and out. So you can adjust from almost like a 60-degree angle to a 45-degree angle. And so you just bend it in and tighten it down.
So what's your opinion on the windshield, the install?
So the install is very easy. The windshield, I mean, we're about to take it for its first test ride, and we'll be able to comment on how it is able to block the wind. Some people say they like a good 45-degree angle, some people like it higher or lower. I would suggest just sitting in the slingshot and looking at it, because you're not going to want the top of it above your vision for most people. Most people want it just below that so that they can still see the road underneath. So I am about 6 feet tall, and I'm going to not have it up all the way high. high. I'll just show the driver's side. Because the seats are a little bit higher over here. So here I have the center of my vision showing up about here. So I'm going to be adjusting it down to sit around right there. And then playing with the angle as we drive around so that we get the best amount of deflection of wind over top of our heads. But yeah, fully installed and about to be tested.
So just a couple tips with the install. Make sure you install your brackets correctly. It's always left-right oriented. If you mix it up, you will have to take everything apart and redo it. Also, it's missing a 6mm nut if you have a rear view mirror, and you will need to buy a nut for your 6mm bolt to install your mirror. Anything else?
Take it out.